The conference room went silent. 20 executives, frozen mid-breath. My brother's hand still raised in accusation. The projector screen behind him displayed my work, the presentation I'd spent 3 months perfecting, with his name on every slide. "She stole this from me," he said, voice steady, confident. "Every word, every strategy. She's been riding my coattails since we were kids." Nobody moved. Even the air conditioning seemed to pause. And that's when I smiled. What none of them knew, what my brother Marcus couldn't possibly have anticipated, was that I'd been preparing for this exact moment for 6 weeks. Every lie documented, every theft recorded, every manipulation cataloged and ready. If you've ever watched a golden child take credit for your work while everyone applauds, stay with me. If you've ever been invisible in your own family while someone else shines with your light, this story is for you. My name is Sienna Reeves. I'm 31 years old, a senior strategist at Meridian Consulting, and for my entire life, I've been the shadow to my brother's spotlight. Marcus is 2 years older. Charismatic, charming, the kind of person who walks into rooms and changes the energy. People gravitate toward him naturally, like he's magnetic, and their helpless metal filings pulled into his orbit. I'm different, quieter, more analytical. I think before I speak, plan before I act, observe before I engage. Our parents noticed the difference early. I was 7 when I brought home my first academic award. Perfect attendance, honor roll, student of the month. I ran into the kitchen waving the certificate, so proud I could barely breathe. Mom glanced up from chopping vegetables. "That's nice, honey. Put it on the fridge." Marcus walked in 30 seconds later with a participation trophy from soccer. He'd spent most of the season on the bench, barely played in 3 actual games. Dad scooped him up, spinning him around. "That's my boy. Future professional athlete right here." They took him out for ice cream to celebrate. I stayed home with the babysitter. That became the pattern. Marcus brought home BS and got praised for trying so hard. I brought home straight, as in got asked why I didn't join more clubs. Marcus made the baseball team and Dad attended every single game, cheering from the stands, recording every moment on his camcorder. I made the debate team, won regional competitions, qualified for state championships. Mom said she'd try to make it to one of my events when her schedule cleared up. She never did. It wasn't that they were cruel parents. They loved us both in their way. It was just that Marcus was easy to love loudly. He was performative, expressive, the kind of child who made parenting feel rewarding because every small achievement came with visible joy. I was self-sufficient. I didn't need constant validation or attention. I did my homework without reminders, kept my room clean, never caused problems. And because I didn't demand attention, I didn't receive it. Marcus learned early that charm could substitute for effort, that personality could compensate for performance, that if you smiled the right way and said the right things, people would give you credit even when you hadn't earned it. I learned early that competence was expected but never celebrated, that achievement was baseline, that no matter how well I did, it would always be background noise to whatever Marcus was doing. High school intensified everything. Marcus became student body president on a platform he'd copied almost word for word from a YouTube video about leadership. He won by being likable, not by having actual ideas. I became editor of the school newspaper, rebuilt the entire publication from scratch, won 3 state journalism awards. At graduation, the principal mentioned Marcus by name in his speech. I wasn't mentioned at all. College was supposed to be different. I went to Northwestern, far enough from home that I could finally build an identity separate from my brother's shadow. I thrived there, made Dean's List every semester, led a research project that got published in an undergraduate journal, built genuine friendships with people who valued intelligence and depth over surface-level charisma. Marcus went to a state school 2 hours from our parents' house, partied his way through a business degree with a 2.7 GPA, and somehow still managed to be the favorite topic at every family dinner. Marcus joined a fraternity. Marcus is dating the sweetest girl. Marcus got an internship through one of Dad's connections. When I mentioned my research getting published, Mom said, "That's wonderful, dear," and immediately asked if I'd heard about Marcus's new car. After graduation, I moved to Chicago. Started at Meridian Consulting as a junior analyst. Entry-level position, long hours, coffee runs, and grunt work. But I was good at it. Really good. I understood client needs intuitively. I could identify market gaps others missed. I thought strategically, seeing 3 steps ahead while others were still processing step 1. Within 18 months, I was promoted to analyst. Within 3 years, senior analyst. Within 5 years, junior strategist. My work spoke for itself. Client retention rates improved when I managed accounts. Revenue increased on projects I led. Partners specifically requested me for their most challenging cases. I was building something real, something mine. And then Marcus moved to Chicago. He called me on a Tuesday evening. I was working late, finishing a proposal for a potential client worth 7 figures. Sis, guess what? Hey, Marcus. What's up? I got a job in Chicago. We're going to be in the same city. I felt my stomach drop, but I kept my voice neutral. That's great. Doing what? Sales position at a tech startup. It's going to be amazing. Hey, you work in consulting, right? Maybe you can introduce me to some people, help me network. I should have said no. Should have established boundaries immediately. Should have protected the life I'd carefully built away from his shadow. Instead, I said, sure. I'll see what I can do. That was my first mistake. Marcus arrived 3 weeks later. Within days, he was asking for introductions. Within weeks, he was attending industry events as my guest. Within months, he charmed his way into conversations with half my professional contacts. He had a gift for making people like him immediately. He'd remember small details about their lives, ask thoughtful questions, laugh at their jokes with genuine seeming enthusiasm. People responded to it. They always had. But I noticed something else too. Marcus wasn't just networking. He was watching, observing how I interacted with clients, how I pitched ideas, how I structured proposals. He'd ask seemingly innocent questions. How did you know to approach that presentation that way? What made you think of that strategy? Can you explain your process for analyzing market trends? I thought he was trying to learn, trying to improve himself professionally. I was wrong. 6 months after Marcus moved to Chicago, a position opened up at Meridian. Senior strategist role. Significant pay increase, leadership responsibilities, direct client management. I'd been working toward this for years. Everyone in the firm knew it. Partners had mentioned multiple times that I was being groomed for advancement. I submitted my application, confident and qualified. Then Marcus applied too. You're applying to Meridian? I asked when he told me over coffee. Yeah. I figured it was worth a shot. You've made it sound so great. Marcus, you work in tech sales. This is management consulting. Completely different field. He shrugged, smiling that easy smile. I'm a fast learner. Plus, having you there would make the transition easier. Red flags everywhere. But I dismissed them. Marcus had never been competitive with me before. We'd always existed in different spheres. Different schools, different interests, different career paths. I didn't think he'd actually be a threat. That was my second mistake. The interview process took 3 weeks. Multiple rounds, presentations, case studies, meetings with partners. I watched Marcus prepare. Saw him staying up late, typing frantically on his laptop, talking on the phone in hushed tones. I thought he was just nervous, working hard to compensate for his lack of experience. The final round was a presentation. Each candidate had to propose a complete market entry strategy for a hypothetical client. We had 2 weeks to prepare. I spent every evening after work on mine. Researched competitors, analyzed market data, built financial projections, developed risk mitigation strategies. It was some of my best work. Comprehensive, innovative, backed by solid data. The presentations were scheduled back-to-back. Marcus went first. I sat in the waiting area outside the conference room, reviewing my notes one final time, confident and ready. Then Marcus emerged, looking pleased with himself. Killed it, he said, patting my shoulder. Good luck in there. I walked into the conference room. 5 partners sat along one side of the table. The projector was already set up. I connected my laptop, pulled up my presentation, and froze. The title slide was wrong. The formatting was off. None of the graphics I'd carefully created were displaying correctly. I clicked through to the second slide. Same problem. Third slide. Fourth. My entire presentation had been corrupted somehow. Graphics missing, data tables broken, charts displaying as error messages. Technical difficulties. One of the partners asked, checking his watch. I tried to troubleshoot, my hands shaking. Nothing worked. I can reschedule, I started. We're on a tight timeline, another partner interrupted. Can you present without the visual aids? I tried. God, I tried. But the presentation had been built around specific data visualizations, detailed charts, complex financial models. Without them, I was just reciting information from memory, struggling to explain concepts that needed visual support. It was a disaster. The partners thanked me politely and said they'd be in touch. I walked out feeling like I just watched my career implode. If you're still watching, hit that like button right now. You'll want to see how Sienna handles what comes next. Marcus was waiting in the hallway. How'd it go? He asked. Technical issues, I said, voice flat. Everything corrupted. Oh no. That's terrible. I'm so sorry, sis. He hugged me. I stood there, numb, while my brother offered comfort for a disaster I couldn't explain. Later that night, I tried to figure out what had happened. Checked my laptop, my files, my backup drives. The original presentation was perfectly fine. Every graphic intact, every chart functioning, every data table displaying correctly. The corrupted version had been a separate file, one I hadn't created. Someone had accessed my laptop, copied my presentation, broken it deliberately, and replaced the original with the damaged version. My stomach turned. I called our IT department the next morning, asked them to check the access logs on my laptop. The technician called me back 3 hours later. Someone accessed your device remotely 2 days ago, copied several files, including something called Meridian Final Presentation. Does that sound right? Can you tell who accessed it? The login was from your brother's laptop. Marcus Reeves. Says here he's listed as an emergency contact on your account. I'd added him months ago when he first moved to Chicago. Just in case something happened and someone needed to reach me, he'd used that access to sabotage me. My hands were shaking when I hung up. But it got worse. 2 days later, the partners called an all-hands meeting. They were announcing the new senior strategist. I sat in the conference room, already knowing I hadn't gotten it, but unprepared for what came next. We're pleased to announce that Marcus Reeves will be joining Meridian as our newest senior strategist. Applause filled the room. Marcus stood, smiling, accepting congratulations. One of the partners continued, Marcus's presentation was exceptional. Innovative thinking, comprehensive analysis, exactly the kind of strategic vision we need. I felt sick, because I knew, without seeing it, without confirmation, that Marcus had presented my work. The presentation he'd sabotaged on my laptop, he'd kept a clean copy for himself. He'd stolen my strategy, my research, my ideas, and presented them as his own. And everyone had believed him. After the meeting, I approached the managing partner. Can I see the presentation Marcus submitted? I'm sorry, Sienna. Candidate materials are confidential. I just want to understand what made his approach successful. He hesitated, then said quietly, I know you're disappointed, but Marcus brought something special. Fresh perspective from someone outside traditional consulting. We need that energy. Fresh perspective. My work, presented by someone with more charisma and less ethics, had been valued more than anything I could have delivered myself. I walked to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall. I didn't cry. I was too angry to cry. Marcus had sabotaged me, stolen my work, and gotten promoted using my own ideas. And everyone at the firm thought he was brilliant. That night, Marcus texted me, "Want to grab dinner to celebrate?" I stared at the message for 10 minutes. Then I typed back, "Sure. Where?" We met at an upscale restaurant downtown. Marcus ordered champagne. "This is such a big moment for me," he said, grinning. "I couldn't have done it without you, sis. Seriously. Watching you work, learning from you, it made all the difference." I smiled, raised my glass. To new opportunities. We toasted. Inside, I was calculating. Marcus had stolen from me once. He'd do it again. People like him always did. And when he did, I'd be ready. I started documenting everything the next day. Every conversation. I recorded the date, time, and content in a detailed log. Every email I forwarded to a personal account Marcus didn't know existed. Every file on my work computer I backed up to an encrypted cloud drive. I enabled remote monitoring on my laptop, setting up alerts anytime someone accessed my device. I became meticulous, paranoid even, but I knew my brother, knew how he operated, knew that charm and theft had always been his formula for success. He wouldn't stop just because he'd gotten promoted. I was right. 2 weeks into his new role, Marcus started struggling. Being a senior strategist required actual strategic thinking, deep analysis, original ideas, all things Marcus didn't have. I watched him floundering during team meetings, offering surface-level observations while others dug into complex problems. I watched partners exchange glances when he couldn't answer basic questions about methodologies. I watched him panic, and then I watched him turn back to me. "Hey, sis, can I pick your brain about something?" We were in the office kitchen. I was making coffee. He leaned against the counter, casual, friendly. "What's up?" "I'm working on a client proposal. Retail expansion strategy. Could you take a look, give me some feedback?" "Sure. Send it over." He did. That evening. The proposal was barely coherent. Generic observations, surface-level analysis, strategies copied from public case studies without any customization. I revised it, made it functional, sent it back with detailed notes. "You're a lifesaver," he texted. This became the pattern. Marcus would come to me with half-finished work. I'd help him fix it. He'd present it to clients as his own. Every single time I documented it. Screenshots of his original drafts. Screenshots of my revisions. Email timestamps showing when I'd returned the edited versions. I was building a case, but I needed something bigger. Something undeniable. That opportunity came 3 months into Marcus's tenure at Meridian. The firm landed its largest client in 5 years. A multinational corporation looking to restructure its entire operational model across 14 countries. The contract was worth $23 million. The managing partners assigned their best people to the project, including Marcus, and including me. I was brought on as a supporting strategist. Marcus was named project lead. The irony wasn't lost on me. The project timeline was aggressive. 6 months to deliver a complete restructuring plan, implementation roadmap, and change management strategy. Marcus was in over his head immediately. The client was sophisticated, asking detailed questions Marcus couldn't answer. The scope was massive, requiring coordination across multiple work streams Marcus couldn't manage. He started leaning on me harder than ever. "Can you draft the Asia-Pacific analysis? Can you build the financial models? Can you handle the client presentation deck?" I said yes to everything, and I documented everything. Every request, every file I created, every strategy one developed. I kept 2 versions of every deliverable. The version I gave Marcus and the original version with metadata intact, timestamps proving I'd created it. I set up a separate project folder on my personal cloud drive, organized chronologically, cross-referenced with emails and meeting notes. I was building an airtight case, but I needed a witness, someone inside the firm who could corroborate what was happening. That's when I approached Kira-chan. Kira was a junior analyst, sharp, ambitious, and deeply frustrated with the firm's politics. We'd worked together on a project the previous year. She confided in me about feeling overlooked, about watching less qualified people get promoted through connections rather than competence. I trusted her. We met for coffee on a Saturday morning, somewhere far from the office, far from anyone who might overhear. "I need your help with something," I said, "but it's risky. And if you're involved, you could face consequences." Kira stirred her latte, considering. "Does it involve Marcus?" I blinked, surprised. "How did you know?" "Everyone knows Marcus is coasting on your work, Sienna. We're not blind." "Then why hasn't anyone said anything?" "Because he's charming. Because the partners like him. Because calling it out would make us look petty or jealous." She met my eyes. "But if you're planning to expose him officially, I'll help however I can." I explained everything. The sabotage presentation. The stolen work. The months of documentation I'd been collecting. Kira listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "What do you need from me?" "Witness testimony. Documentation of times you've seen Marcus take credit for work that wasn't his. Anything that corroborates the pattern." She pulled out her phone. I've been keeping my own notes, just for personal reference, but they're detailed. She showed me dates, times, meetings where Marcus had presented ideas he clearly didn't understand, conversations where he'd admitted to struggling before mysteriously delivering polished work. "This is perfect," I said. "When are you planning to move?" "Soon. I'm waiting for the right moment." That moment came 2 weeks later. The client scheduled a major presentation. All senior leadership would be attending. The firm's managing partners, external board members. This was Marcus's chance to prove himself, and my chance to prove what he really was. The presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Thursday. Conference room A, the largest space in the office. Projector, video conferencing setup, catered lunch. Marcus had been preparing for days, which meant I'd been preparing for days. He'd asked me to review his presentation 72 hours before the meeting. It was terrible, disorganized, superficial, missing critical data points. I rewrote it completely. Comprehensive analysis, detailed recommendations, polished delivery flow. I sent him the revised version, and I kept the original. The morning of the presentation, I arrived early, set up my laptop in the back of the conference room. Quiet, unobtrusive. Kira was there too, sitting near the middle, notepad ready. The clients arrived first. 3 executives, sharp suits, sharper questions. Then the Meridian partners. 5 of them, including the managing partner who'd hired Marcus. Marcus walked in last, carrying a leather portfolio, looking confident. He connected his laptop to the projector, pulled up the presentation. My presentation. He started speaking, walking through slides I'd created, explaining strategies I'd developed, presenting analysis I'd spent weeks perfecting. He was good at it, I'll give him that. Smooth delivery, confident body language, making eye contact at all the right moments. The clients were nodding. The partners looked pleased. He was 15 minutes in when I stood up. "Excuse me. I have a question." Everyone turned. Marcus looked momentarily thrown, but recovered quickly. "Of course, Sienna. What is it? Can you explain the methodology behind the risk assessment model on slide 12? His smile faltered slightly. "It's a comprehensive evaluation of operational variables across multiple markets." "Right, but specifically, what statistical framework did you use to weight the risk factors?" Silence. Marcus glanced at the slide. Standard deviation analysis correlated with historical performance metrics. "That's not correct," I said calmly. "The model uses Bayesian probability weighting with Monte Carlo simulation for scenario testing. Basic statistical methods wouldn't account for the interdependencies between variables." One of the client executives leaned forward, interested now. Marcus's jaw tightened. I simplified for the presentation. "Obviously, the underlying methodology is more complex. Can you walk us through it?" "I don't think this is the time." "I'd actually like to hear this," the client interrupted. "We're making decisions worth millions of dollars. Understanding the analytical rigor matters." Marcus stammered, tried to explain, got tangled in terminology he clearly didn't understand. I waited, let him flounder, let everyone watch him struggle to explain work he claimed to have created. Finally, I said, "Would you like me to explain it?" Relief flooded his face. "Actually, yes. Sienna supported on this analysis. She can provide the technical details." I walked to the front of the room, stood beside him. "Before I do that, I have something everyone should see." I connected my laptop to the projector, pulled up the split screen I'd prepared. On the left, Marcus's original presentation draft. Disorganized, incomplete, barely functional. On the right, my revised version. Polished, comprehensive, complete. "These are the same presentation," I said. "Left side is what Marcus submitted to me 72 hours ago, asking for feedback. Right side is what I sent back after rewriting it completely." The room went absolutely silent. I pulled up another split screen. "This is the Asia-Pacific market analysis section. Left, Marcus's attempt. Right, my complete rewrite." Another split screen. "Financial projections. Left, Marcus. Right, me." Another. "Implementation roadmap. Left, Marcus. Right, me." I showed 12 different examples. 12 sections where Marcus had submitted barely functional work and I transformed it into professional deliverables. Every screen showed timestamps, metadata, email trails, irrefutable evidence. Marcus's face had gone from confident to pale to gray. "Sienna, what are you doing?" he whispered. I ignored him. For the past 6 months, Marcus has presented himself as the strategic lead on this project. In reality, he's contributed almost nothing original. Every major analysis, every significant recommendation, every client-facing deliverable has been created by me and presented under his name. I pulled up one final document, a comprehensive log, every request Marcus had made, every file I'd created, every instance of him taking credit, organized chronologically, cross-referenced with emails, corroborated by meeting notes. I had documentation spanning 6 months, emails where Marcus explicitly asked me to create deliverables he would present as his own, files with metadata proving creation dates and authorship, witness testimony from colleagues who observed the pattern. Kira stood. "I can confirm this. I've personally witnessed multiple instances where Marcus presented work during team meetings that he clearly didn't understand when questioned about methodology." The managing partner looked like he'd been struck. One of the clients spoke first. "Mr. Reeves, is this accurate?" Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, looked at me with something between betrayal and panic. Sienna helped with the technical aspects, but the strategic vision. "Show us," I interrupted. "Right now. Explain any section of this presentation without referring to the slides. Explain the strategic framework, the analytical approach, the risk mitigation strategy." He couldn't. He stood there, silent, exposed, with 20 pairs of eyes watching him crumble. The managing partner stood. "This meeting is over. Clients, we'll reschedule with our sincerest apologies. Marcus, my office. Now." Marcus was fired that afternoon. Not quietly, not with a graceful exit or severance package. Terminated for cause: misrepresentation, plagiarism, ethical violations. His name was removed from all client materials, his access to systems revoked, his personal belongings packed into a box by security. I watched him leave the building, carrying that box, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. He didn't look at me. The managing partner called me into his office an hour later. "Sienna, I owe you an apology. Multiple apologies. We failed you as an organization." I sat across from him, calm, measured. "Yes, you did. The senior strategist position is yours. Effective immediately, along with a retroactive salary adjustment to account for the time you should have been in that role. And the client project, you'll be reassigned as project lead. If you're willing to continue." I considered it. Part of me wanted to walk away, find a firm that would value competence over charisma from day one. But another part, the part that had spent 6 months meticulously building a case, wanted to finish what I'd started. "I'll continue," I said, "on one condition." "Name it." "Kira Chun gets promoted to senior analyst. She's earned it, and she had the integrity to support truth over politics." He nodded. "Done." The client presentation was rescheduled for the following week. I delivered it myself, answered every question with detailed, accurate information, demonstrated complete command of the strategy, the analysis, the implementation plan. The clients approved the contract, $23 million, largest deal in firm history, and my name on every document. Kira was promoted 2 weeks later. Word spread through the industry quickly. People talk, especially about dramatic firings at prestigious firms. Marcus's reputation was destroyed. No consulting firm would touch him. His LinkedIn profile went dark. Mutual contacts told me he'd moved back home, living with our parents. I felt a complicated mix of emotions about that. Not guilt. He'd made his choices. Not satisfaction exactly. There was no joy in watching someone self-destruct. Just completion. Like a chapter that needed to close had finally ended. My parents called eventually. Mom's voice was tight. "Marcus told us what happened." "I'm sure he did. He said you sabotaged him. Got him fired because you were jealous of his success." I'd expected this. Marcus had been rewriting narratives his whole life. "That's not what happened. Would you like to hear what actually occurred?" I explained everything. Calmly, factually. The stolen presentation. The months of plagiarism. the evidence I'd collected. Silence on the other end. Then Dad's voice. That doesn't sound like Marcus. It's exactly like Marcus. It's who he's always been. You just never wanted to see it. More silence. He's struggling, Sienna. He's your brother. And I'm your daughter. But you've never defended me the way you're defending him right now. I heard Mom sigh. That's not fair. Isn't it? Name one time you celebrated my achievements the way you celebrated his. One time you chose my truth over his narrative. They couldn't. I love you both, I said. But I'm done making myself smaller so Marcus can feel bigger. If you can't accept that, then we don't have much to talk about. I ended the call. It hurt. Of course it hurt. But it also felt like freedom. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this is the kind of story that shows exactly what happens when truth wins over charm. 6 months later, I was leading 3 major client accounts. Kira was thriving as senior analyst. The firm had implemented new ethics policies specifically around attribution and intellectual property. I'd built something real. Something mine. Something Marcus couldn't touch. I ran into him once, completely by accident, at a coffee shop near my apartment. He was sitting alone, laptop open, staring at what looked like job applications. He saw me, looked away quickly. I could have walked past, could have ignored him completely. Instead, I walked over. Marcus. He looked up, wary. Sienna. How are you? He laughed bitterly. How do you think? I sat down across from him. I think you're facing consequences you earned. You destroyed my career. No. You destroyed your career. I just stopped covering for you. He looked genuinely confused. We're family. You were supposed to protect me. And there it was. The fundamental misunderstanding that had defined our entire relationship. Family doesn't mean enabling theft, Marcus. It doesn't mean sacrificing my success, so you can pretend to be something you're not. I could have learned, could have grown into the role if you just kept helping me. Helping you would have meant watching you steal credit forever. I chose myself instead. He stared at his laptop. Everyone thinks I'm a fraud now. You are a fraud. You've always been a fraud. Charming, likable, and completely hollow underneath. The words were harsh, but I said them without anger. Just honesty. He looked up at me, and for the first time I could remember, there was no charm in his expression. No manipulation. Just exhaustion. I don't know how to be anything else. Then figure it out. On your own. Without stealing from other people. I stood to leave. Sienna. I turned back. Did you ever actually care about me? Or was I always just the enemy? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I loved you, Marcus. I loved the brother I thought you were. But that person only existed in my imagination. The real you, the person who sabotaged me, stole from me, watched me struggle and felt nothing. I don't know that person. And I don't owe them anything. I walked away. Didn't look back. That was 2 years ago. Today, I'm a partner at Meridian. Youngest in firm history. Kira is a senior strategist now, leading her own projects. We build a team culture based on merit, integrity, and mutual support. No golden children. No stolen credit. No testing who deserves recognition. Just honest work, fairly attributed. I still think about Marcus sometimes. Wonder if he ever figured out how to build something real instead of stealing from others. But mostly I don't. Because the greatest revenge wasn't destroying his career. The greatest revenge was building mine. The greatest revenge was succeeding so completely that his absence felt like liberation instead of loss. The greatest revenge was proving that competence without charm beats charm without competence every single time. And the greatest revenge was living a life where I never again made myself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. My favorite part of this journey was the moment in that conference room when I pulled up those split screens. When everyone finally saw what I'd been carrying alone for months. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The truth always wins. It just takes courage to let it speak.